your skin, that shit is popping, girl. Body on 10, damn, you got it, girl. You gotta boss up, getting them checks, living your best, racks up. Oh, keep walking with confidence. Effortlessly, you let them know who is in command. You just that and more. Don't forget it. God worked hard on you for sure. Lexus, Exodus. Shout out to my exes.
Y'all black females out here, y'all don't understand the struggles of being a black man out here in America and not knowing whether or not you gonna make it home to your children every night because of the police gunning you down.
But don't y'all be out here gunning each other now?
Okay, but we ain't talking about that.
Well, don't y'all be rapping about killing each other in music?
We ain't talking about that either. We can talk about killing each other in rap music, but we don't like the police killing us. Stay on subject, woman.
You brought up your kids. Tyrone, you don't even see your kids.
And then, yeah, I be trying to see my kids. You know my baby mamas be tripping because I don't want to be with none of them, so they be holding my kids from me. You know that.
Okay, but your baby mama saying you don't give them no child support either.
Okay, but I still be going out my way to try to see them.
They live 5 minutes from my house, Tyrone.
That is out my way, woman. See, y'all, that's why we don't like y'all black women's mouths. Y'all run y'all mouth too much. Y'all always bringing up stuff that's irrelevant.
Well, was you cheating on me irrelevant?
I only cheated on you 10 times. You act like I do it every day, bruh. See, that's why we date women of other races, man.
Hey, boos, hey. It is Lexus Exodus, leader of the Black Women Exodus. How are y'all doing? And like always, if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe. Please share. Please comment in the comment section. Let me know that you're listening. Also, if you enjoy listening to my content on the go, the show is now available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts for audio listeners. Go check out my Patreon community where you can get access to bonus episodes and exclusive content and also a private community of like-minded divested women. It is linked below. Please also follow me on social media platforms. You can check me out everywhere on all platforms at Lexus Exodus. I also have a backup channel just in case something happens to this one. It is called LexX. That's L-E-X-E-X. You can find all of this information in the description below. I miss you guys. I'm so happy to be here. I don't know why it feels like I haven't talked to you all in a long time, but let's get to it. This is another installment of my series called the Blackistan Zoo, where we profile the dusty derelicts, crazy creatures, and animals in Blackistan. Tonight, I want to talk about the manosphere. And when I was prepping for this video, I was like, wow, I never dragged the manosphere and their dusty, problematic rhetoric. I was so surprised and taken aback, but it's been a long time coming, so let's do it tonight. So manosphere, Nignogs, you'll find them on YouTube. You'll also find them in other digital spaces like Twitter and TikTok being problematic and spewing problematic rhetoric. And I became inspired to do this video tonight because yesterday over on my Patreon, I discussed the mass shooting that occurred in New York City on the subway. And I talked through how gun violence has always been a pervasive and pressing issue within Blackistan. Check it out if you missed it. I linked my Patreon below. Well, after I created that video, I found out that the culprit of the shooting is actually a manosphere YouTube content creator. Okay, so he had a struggle YouTube channel up that's since been removed. He also was an avid open supporter of Karen Scammules and supported all the other prominent manosphere dusties, which I think is absolutely not a coincidence. So we discuss regularly how manosphere rhetoric is very problematic. A lot of these creators have this weird fixation on barely legal girls. They also engage in this predatory behavior. We know that they are misogynistic and moreover misogynoiristic. So they encourage and promote this idea of hating Black women. And a lot of them have even relished and celebrated after the deaths of Black women. They also promote violence on these channels. We talk about how some of them have called Black women slave toilets and other disgusting names. A lot of them have declared that it's open season on Black women. which is why I wanted to talk about the whack manosphere and how this is so problematic and how consuming this disgusting rhetoric likely was very influential in Frank James' decision to open fire on an NYC subway. So let's talk about it. So like I said, it turns out that the subway shooter not only was a manosphere content creator, but he also was an avid Karen Samuels fan. And I actually found this out by watching Tanya TKO. And before we dive in, I have to give a shout out to Tanya for having such a big platform and always being so supportive of other creatives. She's so dope. Y'all know I covered Bossy Empress's video last week that she shared about KS saying that you shouldn't believe children that have been sexually abused. Well, that video went viral and Tanya saw that video and covered it as well and shouted both of us out. And she didn't have to do that. So I'm so appreciative of you, Tanya. Thank you so much. There were other really prominent blogs with millions of followers that were sharing my coverage of it and simply just covered up my header. Like you could literally see the pink and purple border that I use for my lives. And they just cropped my name out. And that's what a lot of these fools do. I've seen people rip my audio and add it to their content so they don't have to give me credit. But Tanya's not like that. She's always been very supportive of my channel and other creators and has always shouted me out. So shout out to her for always just being such a dope person in this space. Thank you so much for that. But anyway, so Tanya shared this video illustrating how the shooter was not only a manosphere YouTuber, he was also an avid Karen Samuels supporter. So let's watch this and then we'll talk through.
You're the horseman whisperer? Well, Kevin Samuel is the female whisperer, or more correctly said, the black female whisperer. For real, man. I watched this guy work, and I'm really in awe of this cat. The way he takes control, and the way I don't know how to say this shit. I've never heard anybody on YouTube that I know of be able to shut a black female down.
What the fuck else is a black man supposed to do?
I watched this guy work, and I'm really in awe of this cat. The way he takes control, and the way I don't know how to say this shit. I've never heard anybody on YouTube that I know of be able to shut a black female down.
Well, what the fuck else are we supposed to do?
Really break down his idea of how black women are, the way they are, and really he just takes command of these women, and it's all inspiring. I've never seen it happen in my life. I hope he gets 1 billion subscribers and 1 billion views.
I see black female. I'll go with David Carroll. David Carroll says that being a black female should be a part of the DS-20, the Book of Mental Illnesses. And the bonus to David, even though he says a lot of hard shit, and even though some of his imagery I don't agree with, because that shit is like over the top, at the end of the day, he's right.
What the fuck else is a black man supposed to do?
And the way I don't know how to say this shit. I've never heard anybody on YouTube that I know of be able to shut a black female down.
In terms of, especially when it comes to their bodies. Okay, you got a nice shape. You got a nice backside. I'm paraphrasing David Carroll. You got a nice backside. You got some nice breastises. But the most important part of what you have to offer physically, which is that, we'll just say stuff between your legs, is worn out.
And black men hear this.
They expect too much for true. They have got a thing to offer. But that worn out, written hard, put away wet thing between their legs.
And black men hear this. What the fuck else is a black man supposed to do?
Okay, and the creator who actually originally posted this video is No Name Game Fame Dame, and I'll link the original video below. But did y'all hear that mess? Did y'all hear this? I mean, the shooter is not just a fan of Karen. He is standing. He's openly standing. He is emphatic in his support of Karen Scamulls. He's like a schoolgirl. He's gushing. He's talking about how much he admires him and him being able to take control and dominate Black women. And he's raving about this guy. I mean, he really can't contain himself. He's swallowing Kevin's peen and balls. He's such an avid fan, really a stan of this fool. He also mentions problematic manosphere creator David Carroll as well, which we know both of these fools are two very popular problematic manosphere creators that spew very dangerous rhetoric. And so for me, once I saw this, you know, I was taken aback a bit, but then I was like, really? Like, are we surprised? Are we surprised that after consuming this problematic content, this disgusting content that is produced and posted by these creators in this space, are we surprised that this man lashed out in such a vile and vitriolic manner? Because these fools openly condone violence in these spaces. These manosphere content creators are the worst. They enable violent offenders and they spew very dangerous rhetoric that emboldens people who are already unhinged. So why are we surprised that this shooter who engaged in very violent behavior is a Kevin Samuels supporter? So I want to first discuss how Karen has been documented, enabling and excusing and promoting very problematic violent behavior. So he's actually gone on record saying, don't believe those who are victims of violence. So let's watch this clip and then we'll chat.
All right. I do not see women being abused. I don't see women. I don't see Black women being physically abused. Never really have. I'm going to just say it. I never really have seen Black women being abused. In my entire life, I have known of one woman, and that was one of my mother's friends back in the 70s. One. And she and her husband, or she and her man, they would fight each other. One. Emotional abuse. I will tell you, the emotional abuse comes from women to men.
Do y'all hear this shit? Do y'all hear this? So we know statistically, Black women are disproportionately impacted by violence, particularly domestic violence and intimate partner violence. We're 3 times more likely to experience death as a result of DV more than other groups of women. Domestic violence is one of the leading causes of death for Black women aged 15 to 35. Okay, so we have the highest rates of intraracial domestic violence in comparison to any other group. But here we have people like Karen Scamulls denying those experiences, okay? And they'll enable abusers by pretending that this type of violence doesn't happen, okay? So, and I know it happened to me personally, and after being abused, my abuser's family called me a liar. And this is a type of ideology that's problematic that Kevin is encouraging with 1 million followers on his platform. And this is why we are starting to see real life violent ramifications as a result of this rhetoric. This is why we've recently seen a mass shooter lash out in this manner who's a Kevin Samuels supporter because he's encouraging this type of problematic violent behavior.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow.
Keep Black women's names out your fucking mouth. I said, keep Black women's names out your fucking mouth. Seriously, guys. Are you tired of all the negativity and toxicity Black women are subjected to in media, music, and online? We are ridiculed, denigrated, and berated daily, and I'm sick of it. That's why I created a private safe space for Black women that focuses on divestment, development, and self-empowerment. My private Patreon is for Black women only, and is a community where we are affirmed, encouraged, supported, and uplifted. For the cost of a coffee, get access to my Patreon community, which consists of a private Discord group to connect with like-minded Black women, ad-free bonus content, exclusive private lives, and much, much more. You can check it out on patreon.com/LexisExodus. The link is also listed below.
Shout out to my exes.
Okay. So, and not only does Karen deny that domestic abuse happens, he's actually openly encouraged domestic violence and encouraged violent behavior and promoted this idea that men, when they get into disagreements with their partners, that they should incorporate what he calls domestic discipline. So let's watch this and then we will chat.
Best course of action is to slap a woman. At that point, once you've exhausted all other options, then a slap becomes a good option. You cross a certain line with a man, we're going to have to shoot the fair one. We know that. You can be in a wheelchair, you can be on a crutch, you can, whatever. You can be special. You got to do that. But see, there's no low-level threat of violence between women and men today. Women are allowed to be verbally disrespectful beyond the point of reason because there's no consequence, because they don't fear the repercussion. Anybody familiar with the concept of domestic discipline? No, domestic discipline in a nutshell is me and Courtney are married. And Courtney and I are vibing, but Courtney knows that she can get on one sometimes. And we sit down and say, when you get on one, and after we go through the process, and I use the safe word, banana split, and you still stay on one after I say banana split. You heard me say banana split. I acknowledge you heard me say banana split, and you stay on one. Well, then it's time for the domestic discipline. And it is exactly what it sounds like. Lay across the knee and on the hand. Thank you. I am not kidding. I am not kidding. And what I would do is I lay down, get the paddle out. All right, now, Courtney, you know, banana split. And you go.
This is disgusting. Do y'all hear this? So Kevin just said verbatim, sometimes you just need to slap a bitch. He said verbatim, and this is not me putting words in his mouth. This is not me misrepresenting him. He said verbatim, sometimes you need to practice domestic discipline and beat the woman that you're with. He said get a paddle, actually. Bend her over his knee to correct her. He said, if you're my woman and you get on one, that's what he said. If you get on one, I will slap you. He even said, you know, I don't discriminate. You can be handicapped or in a wheelchair. And he doubled down and said, I'm not joking. And then they started laughing. The panel started laughing. And this, side note, this is why I don't believe in this idea of these so-called unicorns that they like to talk about and tout about within the community. Oh, there's good whack men. You know, you just chose a bad one. You just need to choose better. Y'all keep coming to my comments referring to these unicorn men as a point of contention. But it's like, look at this panel of men. We have 3 dudes here, passively smiling, all goofy and allowing this dangerous dialogue. Everyone refuses to call him out on this bullish. The men aren't holding this man accountable. Specifically, this guy in the upper left-hand corner, his name is Anton Daniels. He likes to portray himself on his platform as this Christian, God-fearing family man. But you sitting here cackling, had a good old kiki, just a big old Kool-Aid smile, clapping and nodding and agreeing with this fool, talking about beating on women. This is what these so-called unicorns do. And this is why I disagree with the idea wholeheartedly that there's these rarity good fools in this community, because you're not good if you're passive and you're complicit with this kind of rhetoric. You're not. And this is my thing. That argument is so disingenuous because when we talk about police brutality, and if you tell them, hey, no, there are lots of good police, there are some good police out there who do their job, who have integrity, who are honest, and who are hardworking, they'll say, hey, well, these good police officers should be intervening when they witness bad officers engaging in misconduct. But when it comes to them, those rules don't apply. And this is why I don't even engage in these circular arguments with Dusties and with Blackistan people, because they don't operate on a base of logic. The standards don't apply to them. But anyway, so back to the subject matter at hand. This rhetoric is dangerous. And I've actually had several women reach out to me and say, hey, I actually found out my husband listens to Kevin Samuels. One lady said, now we're divorced because my ex-husband was indoctrinated and believed in this rhetoric that he was spewing. So he'll talk about how he's had all of these successful marriages that have happened as a result of his followers following, his advice. But I've seen several women, and mark my words, I think in about a year or two, we're going to see a fallout. We're going to see an influx of Black couples who have had failed marriages and who will say, because my husband was a Kevin Samuels supporter. One lady, she said, hey, my husband will be on the couch all day talking about I need to be fit, feminine, and submissive, like he says. And she said, well, I would be thinking, well, hey, I just got off of work and your bum ass is unemployed sitting here on the couch. What are you talking about? And it turns out she found out he was listening to Kevin Samuels. So anyway, so we know that studies show that these dudes have very high rates of mental illnesses. Studies also show that the Black community, specifically Black men, deal with high rates of narcissism, depression, PTSD, and schizophrenia, and things like that when compared to other groups. And also we know that in the community collectively, things like therapy and psychologists and psychiatrists and seeking professional help is stigmatized. So a lot of these dudes are walking around with unchecked cognitive issues. So y'all don't think that these fools who listen to Kevin Samuels are impacted by this? Y'all don't think they heard this rhetoric and said, oh, you know what? He's right. It's okay if I punch my wife today. It's just domestic discipline, like the dating coach, high value image consultant, relationship expert Karen Samuels says. I can just bend her over my knee. It's okay if I react violently when I'm upset, when I have a disagreement, instead of practicing simple problem solving and de-escalation skills like an adult. No, I can be violent. So no, it's not a coincidence that the mass shooter that just shot up the whole damn subway in New York happened to be a Karen Samuels supporter. He is emboldening Dusties who are unwell. He's inciting violence with rhetoric like this. He is spewing very, very dangerous ideology. Okay. So last week we talked about how this man also enables predatory behavior and enables sexual violence with his platform as well, and how he recently told his audience not to believe in children who have been sexually abused. And trigger warning, this clip I'm going to condense it, and I'm only going to play a small segment of it just as a refresher of what we talked about last week. But trigger warning, this content may be triggering to some. So if you are sensitive to content like this, please tread lightly.
Let's say you and I were to get married. You got a daughter, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say we have 2 kids together. Mm-hmm. And your child is 5. So 10 years from now, your daughter comes home and said, Kevin looked at me getting out of the shower. What happens next?
The relationship would have to end.
Huh?
That's not something the relationship would end immediately.
Because your daughter said I looked at her getting out of the shower.
Why would that person even be close to the bathroom to see her? Mm-hmm. That would be the thing. You have to defend your seed. You have to defend your child.
Mm-hmm. But you also remember you got 2 of my kids, and off rip, your protective instinct says everything, including those other 2 kids. And kids can say anything.
They can, but you have to protect your kids at all costs.
Then
you got to talk.
Then no. What about those children we have together? Man, you're not right in this. Let's switch the situation. if I'm that child's biological father. And she comes out of the shower, and 10 years later, Daddy looked at me a certain kind of way, and I'm her biological dad. Then what do you say? Why would you not question your child? Why would you not question your dad? Why would you not just say, girl, whatever, that's your daddy? Why would you blow up her marriage? Why would you just believe her?
Why would I just believe my daughter?
Yeah, children lie.
Child, I can't. By the way, I'm in discussions with this woman. She actually contacted me to thank me for not attacking her on my video when I covered this. And quite frankly, I didn't want to attack her. This is a Black woman empowerment channel. And, you know, I'm here to uplift and support those who support Black women and girls. And you can tell that she had a visceral reaction to Kevin's rhetoric. So my bone to pick was with Kevin. I'm in discussions with her to have her come on the show and then hopefully just talk about her thought process behind, you know, even having this conversation with him. So stay tuned. Hopefully we can make that happen. Also, Bossy finally watermarked this video. Oh my gosh. Shout out to Bossy. Please go check her out. She has great content, but she finally watermarked this video because this video went insanely viral. And I was tagging her name under all these different blog posts that was used in her video without crediting her, but she finally watermarked it. So good. But anyway, so this man said, you shouldn't believe sexually abused children, which is an ostentatious, unapologetic display of violent predatory behavior. Okay. When you are actively promoting violence like this and enabling and excusing and deflecting and denying, and when you're promoting this type of problematic behavior, we cannot be surprised when people begin to act problematically. This man has even said before that women aren't needed because historically men would simply sleep with young boys. Okay. And it took me so long to find this clip. I was searching through hours of Karen Scamill's content. So y'all, I deserve a like. I deserve a subscribe. Hit the notification bell because I worked way too hard exposing myself to dust and during this dust to find it for y'all. But let's look at this clip where he goes, he engages in this debate with this woman and he tries to illustrate the point that women aren't needed on this earth because even for sexual needs, historically, back in the past, men would just simply have sex with young boys. So let's watch this and then we'll chat.
Codependency between men and women, that we both require each other for a healthy existence.
No,
that
I'll tell you why it's not. I'll tell you why it's not. I will tell you why it's not. Let me give you an example of why it's not. Let me give you an example. Let's go back 1,000 years, okay? Actually, let's go back even further. Let's go back to the time of Alexander. Let's go back to the time of warring states. How come
Alexander the Great?
Yeah. How come men could walk? How come men could live in armies of all men and be gone from their city, state, province and live with all men?
Yeah.
That shows we don't need you. The only thing we need you for is reproduction. We want you for sex. But see, even then, a lot of times those guys had pages or squires. Those young boys were sexual companions to these men as well.
Do y'all hear him? So let's rewind that back because this is disgusting.
Time of Alexander. Let's go back to the time of warring states. How come
Alexander the Great?
Yeah. How come men could walk? How come men could live in armies of all men and be gone from their city, state, province and live with all men?
Yeah.
That shows we don't need you. The only thing we need you for is reproduction. We want you for sex. But see, even then, a lot of times those guys had pages or squires. Those young boys were sexual companions to these men as well.
Do y'all hear me? I feel like I'm in the twilight zone because I just can't understand how this man has developed and cultivated this cult-like following, this like legions of followers who really support him in his platform. This is weird. This is problematic. This man is spewing dangerous rhetoric. He's talking about sleeping with squires or young boys back in the day. So we don't need women around because we can sleep with the little boys. He's encouraged his following not to believe in physically abused women who are victims of domestic violence. He's encouraged them not to believe sexually abused children, promoting this idea if women are 25, they hit the wall. So you should be messing with 18, 19-year-old teenagers. He encourages and promotes this idea how women aren't needed because men can sleep with boys. He's been encouraging domestic violence. And we are really surprised that one of his diehard supporters was involved in a violent incident like what recently happened in New York City. Like, seriously, let's use common sense here. The manosphere for years has produced this hateful, vitriolic, problematic content. Okay, so if we're talking about a person who has this massive million subscriber platform with a following that consists of a group of mentally unwell people who statistically have a propensity to violence, this is a dog whistle. Okay, this is emboldening these mentally unwell people. This rhetoric is dangerous. It's disturbing. It's irresponsible. No wonder his diehard followers are engaging in violent behaviors like this. And we just saw a mass shooting happen. Quite frankly, with a platform like this large, this type of rhetoric, this type of dialogue should be illegal. It's inciting violence. It's dangerous. It's not okay. And listen, I'm going to tell y'all, mark my words, on this day, April 14, 2022, buckle up. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to warn you because I think this is just the beginning. This is just the tip of the iceberg, and we're going to see a lot more of incidents like this. All right, that's all I got. Until next time, see you guys. Bye.
I don't give a fuck. Even if you think I should, bitch. Bigger, I don't give.
If y'all come across a red iPhone, can you please bring it to the sound stage? Red iPhone, appreciate it.